Here today we are with Nera Luce to speak about the birth of the book Living the Dead. And this is the dark tower. Nera Luce from the back and the dark tower. And this is Dead City Radio for you. Live from Maison Rouge. Fractures, moment, apexes. They are the small choices that mark the details of our existence, those from which sometimes emerge giants of meaning. They are the pillars on which we will erect our future, inscribed in the circular vault of the sign, left impressed within the plots of the past time. Here and now, then and forever, I made a choice of a theme, the near-death experience. There was something in that period, a chained series of elements, which brought the subject to light, bringing it out of a blur at that impermanent horizon. A book given by chance, the clear perception of an adjustment, the vision of the future. In becoming finally clear, within the absolute certainty with which I choose that this is how I would have liked, and indeed should have, to close my university cycle of academic studies. A series of other possibilities, still manifest, opened up at the same time. Living Dead is born another level within the year 2070. 2070, yeah, a year of massive transitions. After all, to this day, my greatest wish, and that year was to finish university. What those 6 years had asked of me by me was a lot, and a lot was what I have given it. An abundant blood flow from the coronary artery. Those years had struck in the center of my life, removing all habits, demanding from me a commitment that was only justified when it was me, yes, me, and only me, who wanted it intensely, absolutely. And the last step before the abyss, and this, it was night. Among the many possibilities I had in front of me, only one seemed the right one. And that one was the one I did. I waited for the right time and space-time, and the right person to propose to, after numerous failed attempts. Hardly any of the speakers accepted such a subject, insisting that I had to choose a subject that was more relevant to my specialist career. When I failed, who to ask, everything began to flow in an extraordinarily fluid way. Extraordinary. As if in a certain sense the whole universe was waiting for the specific confirmation of choices within that constellation of space-time elements. And I remember, yes, the professor who followed me in my project will say in the proclamation, this person, Nera Luce, yes, this is Nera Luce from the Black Tower, wanted this argument strongly enough to convince me. I wanted to reward the strength of his motivation, yeah, and the courage of such an unconventional proposal. It was one of the first time that during those 6 years at university, everything was simple, frictionless, free of obstacles. I deeply loved those last months before my proclamation as masterly doctor, because I was creating something that belonged deeply to me, and I felt free for the first time in those 6 years, yes, free to express within the constriction of the world what I am and what I want. The idea of publishing the thesis in a book format was born 1 year later, in 2018. And in order to seal this my will, I had the second work entitled Living Dead, printed in full, bound in black. The version that would become a book in 2020. Now, the new era. The era of the Black Diamond. And here come the moment when I reached absolute clarity on how I should proceed in the matter to lead events toward my natural vocation. It was the end of the year 2080. Several months have passed since, during an astral journey beyond the gates of Satan, on the occasion of the Feast of the Dead, I had seen the great age-old oak tree lying on the hill. I had been dazzlingly abducted and moved by the majesty of that vision. That astral journey had led me to do research on the web about events that proposed shamanic journey, and among the first results of the research on the web appeared Space One, Uno Editori. It will be at their offices that I sit waiting for my time to enter one of these journeys, and the dense apparatus that inhabited that moment, I will recognize the same identical oak tree, and the same identical perspective and distance on the Uno Editori flyer. In the same instant when I realized the synchronic correspondence of the two images, everything was clear to me in its extended processuality. I saw, and I know everything. Meanings like time do not proceed linearly, and in this spiral-shaped dance that takes on the magmatic flow of becoming, some returns. After having retraced the attic of being in reverse, give back meaning to the value of a moment precisely because in the midst of the states they have gone through a profound metamorphosis, and the book Living There should have come out with the publisher one, because the world universe had plotted in that direction from its first galactical expression within the real manifest, and because access to the cosmic memories contained within by the circular nature of temporal information had revealed to me the occult drawing contained within the countless science scattered along the way. Every corner of that office, from the lights to the arrangement of the furniture, to the stone garden and the courtyard, had something tremendously familiar, something I had already seen many times. Forever, the cosmos wanted that place, that people, the one publisher, the unitary, yes, from the back tower, Nera Luce. I made myself through this revealed knowledge, working so that everything flowed in maximum harmony. About the concept, or this concept of harmony, there will must a lot to say, but let we go. Let us now start from this enlightening consideration and change now the linguistic register in order to briefly introduce back the book. Man, at the moment of death, certainly becomes one. This simplifies his life, discards what is purely accidental, and in particular, concentrates and condenses his entire being so that what leaves behind or passes to other is the true center of his being, the nucleus of his person, the Atman, which does not vanish. So that is the supreme act. From a first part oriented to a general explanation of what NDA are, their prevalence and the population, and a brief historical excursus is now. We are speaking about the book and the contents in the book, and then the text moves on to a detailed analysis of their primordial phenomenology, taking into consideration their main phenomenological components. In each chapter is related to the main methodological tools used in NDA research and two important clinical cases, that of Carl Jung and Pam Reynolds, were introduced. After this descriptive part, the thesis goes into the analysis of the resonance that the question of the overlap between pre-death phenomenology and hypnosis on the one hand, and consideration of the nature of consciousness and the definition of brain death on the other, have had as carrier of important implications in the study of the near-death phenomenology. But it's important to say that the most substantial part of the work is embodied by the attempt to compare main scientific hypotheses proposed in the modern neuroscience and psychology, which have attempted to explain the emergence of the near-death, near-death phenomenology. Moreover, the contribution that analyzes this phenomenology with the metaphysical religious approach is fundamental in order to highlight how The question of the continuity of consciousness is intersecting with materialistic explanation in a continuous and harmonic way. The end to pan of initiatory tradition, yes! Nera Luce from the Black Tower, and this is you know, but the end to pan of initiatory traditions is undoubtedly here in all its grandeur, recalling to itself an idea of unity of all phenomena, making every consideration reconvert in the direction of a Vedic monism. And this is a quote for you from Upanishad, and where else will its root be but in the water? Oh dear, from the bed which is water, you must go back to the root which is Theos. From the bud which is Theos, oh dear, you must go back to the root which is Sat. All creatures, oh dear one, have their root in the Sat. They are based on the Sat. How then, oh dear one, these three divinities, once they reach man, each become triple. This has already been said. When, oh dear one, a man dies, his word withdraws into the mind into the vital breath into the Theos, the Theos into the Supreme Divinity. Whatever the subtle essence is, the whole universe is made up of it. It is the true reality. It is the Atman. The multidisciplinary approach and the ontological transversality have proved to be necessary tools. I know, because I wrote this book, yes, Nera Luce, to integrate a different perspective within a uniting vision, inserting in the final part the main transformation that those who has experienced an NDE are facing. To recover a dimension of awareness in which the primacy of being is affirmed, and the depth of an abysmal reflection on the fundamental axis of our existence, yes, retrieve an idea of ourselves that looks like the primordial dimension, to use the poison as a drug, to engage actively and with absolute seriousness, will then acknowledge in all its expressions. These are some of the reasons why, especially in the Western culture, it's necessary to investigate in depth, avoiding sensationalizing and trivializing those phenomena on the fringe between science and metaphysics, so that even a Western mind can validate the ontological status of certain liminal phenomenologies. The idea that comes back and that is present everywhere is that of a humanity that is protesting toward awakening in the era of the Kali Yuga, the era of the Black Diamond, that progressively strip itself of certain mental categories in order to regain authentic knowledge. What is absolutely necessary in this era and in this culture is to allow people to use the tools of logic and analysis as a starting point for their own overcoming, Because we cannot expect Western mind to understand from tools and cultural parameters that are not those with which it's accustomed to thinking and interpreting reality. This tract is so, therefore, present in a very, very technical, scientific ways, and then that needs ontological restitution, since the normal gap between science and metaphysics, between analysis and mysticism, must be recomposed. Separating dualism is only an illusion with the end all is one, because all is one. You remember this, you have to know. And this is Nera Luce from the Dark Tower, from the Black Tower. Yes. The black voice of Black Light, Nera Luce. You're listening to the story of the bird of my book. My book, Living That, from That City Radio, the podcast. That City Radio. The podcast. From an idea of Nera Luce.